I met Coach Foster probably a sophomore in high school. I was playing in a basketball tournament, and Ben watched me play.
I had the privilege of being his freshman basketball coach.
And I really got to know him when I was a sophomore, when he hired me to be the student intramural director for volleyball.
My first impressions going through the recruiting process, I thought, this guy is a pretty calm guy, seems pretty cool. When I got down here as a player, when that competition switch goes on, I was like, who is that guy? He's just really intense.
My first impression of him was that he was a very tall, big man, kind of scary.
He has taught and coached for 45 years. 17 of those were as the varsity basketball coach. During those 17 years, he established the all-time winningest record at 310 victories.
What an amazing basketball mind. I always felt at the end of the game, if the game was within 2 or 3 points, that we were going to win that game.
I had the opportunity of seeing his passion early on. We were playing at Cal Lutheran one night and lost a game. All the players were back on the bus except Ben, and I couldn't find Ben for a few minutes. I went back in the locker room, and he was sitting with his head in his hands and blaming himself. After all, he had missed one free throw and 25 chances that night, and we'd lost by 1 point.
Well, he has worked here for many, 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 many years, so he has impacted the kinesiology program, the basketball program, the golf program. When somebody's put in this many years, you can't help but notice their footprint here and there and just different things that he's done throughout the years.
And he has coached golf for 38 years, making 25 appearances at the national championships. You'll still find his name in the record books in numerous places now 45 years later.
I kind of got in trouble with Ben my freshman year because I got kind of lippy with a teacher in a class. That teacher reported it to Ben. Ben called me in immediately and said, that's not how Point Loma Crusader basketball players represent us. I don't want to hear about anything like this again. And that was made clear, and I didn't have any issues anymore.
He really wanted you to be a person of integrity and to be somebody who is responsible, somebody who is trustworthy. You see a different side of him when he's your boss compared to when he is your peer. He's funnier. When
I became a colleague, I found out just how funny Ben is. His sense of humor, a little bit dry, but I love it. And he's super quick-witted. And so if you set yourself up, he will zing you pretty quickly.
Well, I've got a whole list of what I would call Fosterisms. It's important to know the difference between a thoroughbred and a Clydesdale. Some people are certified but not qualified. Subtraction through addition and addition through subtraction.
Ben's faith is amazing. I think that that's what's made him the man that he is.
He's influenced so many lives for numerous students and athletes that are serving our Lord and making tremendous contributions professionally.
Thank you for hiring me when I was a 19-year-old. Now I have a fantastic job and I love it.
Coach, I hope that you have a blast. I hope that you get to vacation. I hope that you get to go on several cruises with your best friend and just enjoy life.
I met Dr. Noble in my community and public health nursing class. We would go to City Heights and work with the Somali Bantu community.
I first met Dr. Noble just in passing around the nursing campus, and she was always so friendly and smiling and easy to talk to.
My first impression of Dr. Noble was always naturally positive. She was always smiling and always started off our clinical group with prayer and positive, even in really chaotic situations when our plans weren't always going through, which kind of calmed our group down.
Well, my first impression of her, of course, is that she, always had a big smile on her face and was always interested in hearing what you were up to and how your clinicals were going. You could tell that she really cared about each student.
One of the best things she taught me was being positive. Whenever we had a strict kind of guideline to go by and things weren't getting hit 100%, she always had this calm demeanor on her.
So I took a community class from her, and one of the funniest things that we had to do was we had to do a school presentation. And so she encouraged us to be as out there as we possibly could. So in our group, we had one of our group members dress up as a giant tooth.
She would always try to relate as much as possible to the students. And there was a big generation gap from where she was and where like the way we would talk to each other as students. You know, when we would talk to her, we'd try to be as professional as we can, but at the same time, she would overhear us talking. She would kind of try to relate. Like, so she would try to understand our language, try to understand like our slang, and she would put in our slang into some of her vocabulary also, which made it funny.
You know, it was easy to get her off subject, and so that was one of the things that all the students loved about her. And one of the things that we remember most about her is just that she was so fun to talk to. We just all really loved her. She really showed me what it meant to care about everybody. She also taught us that a friendly nurse is what everybody wants. And so I think about that every day when I go in and I'm working as a nurse, that what parents and patients want more than anything is a friendly nurse.
We would do workout videos at our clinic in City Heights. She would really get into the workout videos with community and everything, and she would have us being there, and as students, we wanted go hard with the workout videos, but at the same time we didn't want to go too hard and get all sweaty in our clinicals. But she would go all out, and she would get really into it and really get a good workout with the community.
I don't think I knew going into nursing school how much the professors were going to have an impact on the way I practiced nursing.
So I remember being in her class in a clinical setting. We would go into these people's homes, people that didn't have any health care, and we would try to support them as much as possible. Give them medical knowledge and just plain knowledge on health. No matter what their situation was, no matter how desperate the family were, I think they got comfort from her, just on her just naturally being like a positive person.
I first met Dr. Wilder as a freshman.
Dr. Wilder was actually the first person that I met here on Point Lomas campus.
I first met Dr. Wilder when I was talking to her about coming here to teach.
Well, we had an opening in the department. I issued her a contract and she signed it, and she's been here ever since.
My first impression of Dr. Wilder was she was so put together. The way she dressed, the way she carried herself.
She carries herself with poise.
She's very, very neat.
Such a perfectionist.
I'm sure I drive her crazy.
I was thinking, oh, she's going to be tough.
Basically a consummate professional.
I watched her as a college student be able to teach us and also work on her doctorate and be a wonderful mother.
We were able to pray together. We were good friends. It developed a bond.
She's shown me that, like, you can go through so much. She's gone through so much and still be a good person and still be sweet.
She is such a strong person that's been through so much and has overcome a lot of the things people told her she couldn't.
I think the first thing I remember is how difficult the tests were.
She has influenced the way I approach school.
She really believed it was critical to their lives and to their well-being.
She was definitely a challenging teacher, but one that has given me information that I'm going to carry with me for the rest of my years.
Because of her, I was able to identify a child that had been neglected. Child Protective Services asked me, how did you know to do that? And I said, oh, that's children's nutrition.
She was on the cutting edge of the developments within her profession.
She was approachable, and I think students sensed her interest in them, her real interest in them.
Dr. Wilder has really been family to me while I've been here at Point Loma. I've been invited to her house for Christmas parties.
I work in the guard shack, and she's always stopping by and just talking to me for like 5 minutes, just seeing how I'm doing.
More than academic, she's really interested in your personal and spiritual wellness.
She serves with her whole heart, and her faith drives her.
She gets the best fashion magazines and always gives them to me when she's done with them.
Good soprano, incidentally.
Her dog's pretty awesome. It's this little fluffy, like, white dog that's like, is groomed all the time, looking fresh, is pampered, and her dog, like, resembles her.
I met Hadley in 1978. She was teaching French at the time, and I was teaching Spanish.
I first met Hadley as a result of my work with student development.
I've had this wonderful gift to work with Hadley Wood for 12 years in the LEAP program.
I first met Dr. Wood my freshman year. She was a professor for my very first class.
Her French 101 class was the first college class that I sat in on.
I think one of the things I was impressed that she had a doctorate from Harvard, but not just that, she was just real friendly to me and had a great sense of humor.
First impressions of Hadley, I would describe Hadley as the consummate professional and woman of God. For me, it was like meeting Deborah in the scriptures.
Her ability to relate to students, but most of all, her concern always for the good of the student.
She is a genius. Anyone who knows her and has studied under knows that. Now, I'm not a genius. I think I'm smart, but I'm no genius. And yet, she is not above having fun.
My first impression was that she's very outspoken. She doesn't care what people think about her, and she just says what comes to mind.
In her French classes, I hear about all the stuffed monkeys she has to make the learning of French interesting.
She was a great role model for me as a teacher.
By pushing me to try my hardest, her class was definitely one of the most challenging that I've taken. Dr. Wood has been there for me through so much. There are times when I go into her office just to ask for advice and just vent about things that are going on.
We've been dear friends since 1978 and shared many, many experiences. We always could count on each other for everything, and I love her as if she were my own sister.
I have gained a mentor, a sister, and a friend. Hadley has been for me a champion, an ally, a confidant, a prayer partner.
She's just somebody that I know I can turn to if I need help.
Hadley has been able to show me that scholarship is not distinct from the work that we do in the classroom. It is not there merely for career building, but is there ultimately as a gift to be handed to our students.
And her belief that learning and teaching here should be redemptive in the deepest sense of that word is something that is amazing to watch.
She went through a phase where she wore earrings, and she got the most outrageous earrings you could ever imagine. And then there was a time when she went through a hat phase, bought every color hat imaginable and wore them to school and into class. And that was a lot of fun. We used to tease her about that.
She could just drop these bombs, and before you know it, something that was very serious becomes hilarious. I love that about my girls.
Point Loma is losing one of the best professors. She was one of the best in my opinion.
She's affected the way that I teach, my pedagogy, the way I assess my students, how I encourage them. She impacted so many students.
Hadley has a wonderful way of seeing what people can be.
Dr. Wood, I just want to thank you for everything that you did for me and all the time that you invested into me academically and personally. I think I can honestly say that it's because of you that I'll be walking across that stage.